Hey, welcome back. Or if this is your first time, thanks for tuning in and watching. I got a bunch of cool responses from my first video on Discard Warlock. I've been playing a lot, been seeing a lot of people posting about it, which is really cool. I love this deck, want more people to play it, and also want to, I don't know, do my part to contribute to the conversation about what the best choices in the deck are. I've been in pretty like hard disagreement with a lot of the cards that I've been seeing in a lot of the other decks. By no means want to be trashing people for their choices in decks. I feel like I've played this a lot more than a lot of people, but yeah, I mean, there's also different objectives that you can have for playing this deck. Some people just want to discard cool stuff and get a bunch of value out of it, which is not what I've been trying to do with this. I have done that in the past, and it's fun. It's good times. But I'm just trying to win a bunch of games right now. Trying to push that to the max. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna compare a bunch of the decks that I've been seeing. Some people in the last video actually suggested I look at Solemn's list and compare Solemn's list, and they were actually saying Solemn's list was just better than mine. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a comparison between that one. HS Replay just got enough stats up to post a deck that was considered Discard Warlock. And then this guy posted on Reddit. He's just one of the only ones that I saw on Reddit with a deck list, so I'm gonna look at his deck list because it's just different than the other ones. By no means trying to pick him out, and he was asking for suggestions on his deck list. So here are some suggestions on your deck list. He has some interesting choices in there. One thing that I really do like, especially over Solemn's deck, is he's actually running Expired Merchant. That's one that Solemn wasn't running, and I think it's probably the best card. Not the best card, but one of the best cards in the deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just go through the other lists and then kind of compare them to mine and talk about mine, so on and so forth. And then since I end up talking about this for quite a while, I'll probably make a separate video that's a mulligan guide, which should be out within a very short period of time of this video coming out because I'm recording them at the same time. So, first choice, looking at the one drops here, I have more one drops, I think, than any of the other decks in here. I do. Actually, the guy who posted on Reddit looks like he has the same number of one drops as me. He's running Flame Imp over Voidwalker in comparison to me. So I've noticed that you pretty much always are able to uh, you either kill the control decks fast enough by like a pretty good margin, or they AoE you and you're like 10 damage off. So I think the difference in uh one attack between Flame Imp and Kobold Librarian isn't very big in terms of hit him in the face and get him dead. So in that case, the comparison here is the aggro decks. And in the aggro decks, some of the ones you're really worried about are Demon Hunter and Mage. And Mage, all of their minions are higher than one attack, so that breakpoint doesn't matter. And in Demon Hunter, their hero power does 2 damage for 1 mana. So that's why I run Kobold Librarian over the Flame Imp. I seeing less Demon Hunter, I've been thinking about moving back to Flame Imp, but I don't know. I have not had great results with Flame Imp. So I go Kobold Librarian. Malchezaar's Imp, obviously an auto include, everyone runs that. Obviously Soulfire, obviously the Soularium. I mean, the only reason you wouldn't run the Soularium is if you don't have it. So now it gets to kind of where I do something very different from a lot of people. Oh, I wanted to X out the things that I'm not running. So Flame Imp, I don't like. Flame Imp, I don't like. So I run Voidwalker, which a lot of people are not running. I guess just because it isn't discard synergy, so people don't think to put it in there. I think it boosts your win rate versus aggro matchups by a lot. You have a lot of low health, high attack minions in this deck that your opponent can trade up into, like trading their lower mana cost investment into your higher mana cost investment or your higher value because you're just trying to kill them quick. So I think these low mana cost, higher health taunts are really, really, really important in this deck. So Voidwalker, actually a big star of the deck, one of the higher win rates when I look at my HS replay stats. Where's everyone else on this? That's all the 1-drops. I agree with Kobold Librarian here. I would run 2 of them. So yeah, on the 1-drops, everyone's pretty similar. I just have that Voidwalker difference and the Flame Imp difference. So moving on to the 2-drops, Darkshire Librarian is something I've been seeing in decks, including these and others, that I am not a fan of at all. This is 2 mana invested. You really want a lot of stats out of this, and this is a 3/2. 3/2s are not good enough for Wild. I don't like it. So I would not play that card. I know it draws you a card. You already have enough card draw in this deck. You don't really need more. It's a random discard outlet, which is worse than your targeted discard in Expired Merchant and Nightshade Matron if you run it. I actually have stopped running Nightshade Matron because I think it's too slow for this deck. But, yeah. So, Darkshire Librarian not making the cut for me. Let's look at some of these other 2-drops. Clutch Mother Zevos is one of those legendaries that is cool and fun and looks good, but and this is one of the ones that's right on that edge for me. I don't run it because it doesn't have charge. It has to sit in your hand for a while. So it's not giving you burst. It's not overstated to begin with. I like the cards that come overstated with downside in this deck more than I like the cards that are understated that you need to play around to be better. Because you're kind of playing fast and loose with your deck here, so you gotta go kind of quick. So that's kind of the main reason I don't like Clutch Mother Zevos. Zevos? I don't know how to say it. Whatever. Expired Merchant. Like I was saying, this is an all-star of this deck. If you're not running this card, I don't know what you're doing. Obviously, Hand of Gul'dan, draw your entire deck. I actually don't like targeting Hand of Gul'dan with this quite as much. It's like not your optimal situation. You definitely do it if you like need your cards, but my optimal situations for Expired Merchant are Silverware Golem, #1 target. Fist of Jaraxxus is probably your #2 target, and I know that sounds kind of weird, but if you get that many just like random 4 damage bursts to like things on your opponent's side, you swing games super fast, and you can make some smart trades to like force it to go where you want. It helps a lot. If you hit the Expired Merchant with that, you're ending. That's like what 12 damage off your 2-drop. Like if you are able to discard both of them, which is pretty easy. So that's a lot of damage no matter where it's going. So Expired Merchant, super good. Another kind of interesting thing you can do with it is if Doomguard's in your hand and you have some of your random discard outlets like Felstalker, you can discard your Doomguard, kind of move it from your hand into this Death Rattle body on the board, and then you can use all your other discard outlets, then trade in your Expired Merchant in time for Doomguard to come out on turn 5. It won't net you extra Doomguards because your Doomguard will always discard the other Doomguard. That's just how the game works. But it'll make it so you can play stuff in the meantime, which obviously isn't the best role for it, but discarding your Doomguard is one of the most feel bad things. So getting it into the Expired Merchant is better. Let's look at what other 2-drops people have. So yeah, Expired Merchant. Solemn, you gotta be running. Expired Merchant, what are you doing, bud? Felstalker, overstated with downside. That's what I like. That's what I was mentioning a second ago. Super good. It's a good discard outlet. Well statted. Good. We want it. Happy. Kanrethad Ebonlocke. Amazing card. Super, super, super good card. Just cheat mana, you're good. I don't think there's any reason to not cheat mana. I have a lot of low-cost demons. It's really good to play with Voidwalker. You really like having Voidwalker with Kanrethad because it protects it, increases the likelihood it lives a turn. Yeah, I've played a decent number of 4-mana Doomguards too, which really feels good. So Ebonlocke, auto-include in the deck if you have it. If you don't have it and you want to play this deck, craft it. I mean, I guess it's not 100% required, but it's very good. Brazen Scrap Imp. I've been harping on getting stats into play quickly, and you're willing to have downside to get stats into play faster. This is downside of not having stats in play. So that is so bad to me. I don't understand how this could possibly be good in this deck. I haven't run it and I've tested a lot of cards in this deck, and I've not tested this card just because of how awful I think it is. If somebody posts a video of playing this and like showing stats of this being good, maybe I'll check it out, but I cannot imagine this card being any good. Where are we at on these cards? Blah, blah, blah. Kanrethad, looking good. Ooh, HS Replay, you're not playing Kanrethad? What? Oh, HS Replay is bad. Okay. Teeny Knight of Evil. Super good card. This is one of those cards that can snowball super hard, and it becomes... One thing that's good to do with this deck is if you have your Kanrethad, you can end up doing a turn where you create like 3 or 4 different like super high priority targets. If you can go Kanrethad, like Voidwalker, Malchezaar's Imp, Tiny Knight of Evil, they really want to kill the Malchezaar's Imp, they really want to kill your Kanrethad, and they really want to kill your Tiny Knight of Evil, and you've tossed up a taunt, so they can't trade into it very effectively, so they have to use their targeted removal on it. And like hopefully they have multiple targeted removals for cheap enough, or they AoE it, but like you lose to AoEs a lot of the time anyways. You're doing all this stuff fast enough that you avoid most AoEs. But yeah, so Tiny Knight of Evil scales super hard. It's really good with the Soularium. It just like is a 6/5 with the Soularium for 3 mana, so that is very strong. So Tiny Knight of Evil, very good card. Everyone's running Tiny Knight of Evil. Cool. Vulgar Homunculus is another card that nobody is running. This is kind of in the same vein as the Voidwalker. Super good card. Everyone needs to run Vulgar Homunculus in their deck. High health taunt. Good. It's very strong. I don't really know what else to say about that. So, looking through here, Reckless Dire Troll. This is the discard your lowest cost card. So I thought about running this card. And it is a high health taunt, but you're only getting 2 more health on it over the Vulgar Homunculus, and it has to discard you a card, and it costs more mana. I think that's just too much downside. You're kind of the way I play out this deck is you play, like, if you have a bunch of discard fodder in your hand, you can toss out your discard outlets early. Most of the time, though, you have kind of a mix, and you don't want to waste your cards that aren't discard synergy. So you always want to play those first, and then get your other stuff out. And with the taunts, you want to be running the taunts out to, like, block them. So I don't like having the discard on my taunt. This is another one that I think about running. This deck list is so tight, though. It's so hard to fit extra stuff into here. But yeah, Reckless Dire Troll, interesting idea. I don't think it's good enough. Blood for Your Potion. To me, this says 3 damage charge, which is interesting. The deck does kind of suffer from burst, but it's not discard synergy. It's not really cheating mana. It's 3 damage for 3 mana. That just doesn't seem good enough for Wild. Just this card in general, not even in this deck. I just don't think it's good enough for Wild. Cataclysm. Why? What are you doing? You're an aggro deck. You don't want an AoE. Who runs AoEs in aggro decks? What are you doing? Get out of here. You're bad. Who would run that? Why? Okay. Crystal Weaver. So Crystal Weaver, I've actually played in Disco Lock before this expansion, like a year ago, and I cut it then. So if it wasn't good then, it's definitely not good enough now with the new cards. The problems it has, it's not a demon. it needs demons to already be in play. By turn 4, you're either killing them on turn 5, or your board got wiped and you're trying to rebuild a board. This is really bad at rebuilding a board. For one, because you can't discount it. For two, you need stuff in play for it to be good. And like turn 5, you probably have your Doomguard or your Soulfire by now because you draw so much of your deck. I don't know. I think it does what it's trying to do worse than the Soulfire and the Doomguard, and it doesn't really synergize with much else in the deck. So I don't run this card. Wrathguard. Wrathguard's another card. If you notice, I run more 2-drops also than almost anyone else. So I'm a much more aggressive deck than any of these other 3 decks. Wrathguard. Again, you're playing high stats with downside. So it's a 2-mana 4/3. Sure, it deals some damage to you. Whatever, I don't care. I want my 2-mana 4/3. And it's another card that you can play to kind of thin your hand of non-discard synergy cards. Kind of what you see in some of these other decks is people play stuff like Clutch Mother, Zevos, to kind of increase the amount of... Oh, this deck had that too. I don't like that. To kind of increase the other discard synergy cards in the deck. But and again, Clutch Mother Zevos is one of the ones that's on the edge for me because it kind of fills that role pretty well. But I like just getting more stats in play. It's a good 2-drop. It's a 1-drop with the Ebonlocke. I think it's super good. Silverware Golem. Auto include. Is anyone not running Silverware Golem? No. Okay, we don't have to talk about that. Obviously good. Fist of Jaraxxus. Everyone's running that. Don't have to talk about that. I guess I did see one person comment, is Fist of Jaraxxus actually good enough? Yes, it's a lot of burst. You don't really have very much burst in this deck. You got Doomguard, Soulfire, Fist of Jaraxxus. That's it. And it can really help you, since it's like randomly targeted, you can toss it out kind of early in your turn. Well, obviously you're not ever casting this. If you're casting this, you're sad. But you're tossing it out early with it, not early, but like at some point with your discard synergies, and you can kind of make your turn's game plan around where the RNG of this dumps out, and most of the time it's good. Sometimes you can trade off a couple 1/1s first, and it's good. You have a lot more control over it than you think you do, and I've definitely won the 1 out of 3s a lot of the time for the win in certain cases. So it gets you there. The one thing that I've taken away from looking at other people's decks that I wasn't doing before is this Frenzied Felwing. Solemn had Frenzied Felwing in his list. I think that's an awesome include. I've been playing it. Since I've been playing it, my win rate has jumped about 5%. I was hovering around 66% win rate, and since playing that, I've been at about a 72% win rate. Obviously, only a sample size of about 20 games, so that might just be luck, but Frenzied Felwing seems very, very strong. Like your Soulfire gets you there. Pretty much all your 2-drops are 4/3s, so just hitting them with a 2-drop gets you there. Doomguard gets you there. Everything gets you there. Frenzied Felwing, 0 mana 3/3, like all the time. Super, super good. What other things are people run? Howl Fiend. I have no idea how this is good. Like, you would have to run... Maybe I want to try a deck where you're like all in on the discard synergies. Like, I guess this person is all in. He's running every single discard outlet in the game. High Priestess, Jeklik, and Zeva. So maybe it's some big brain stuff going on there. Maybe I need to try that one out. But I can't imagine this is good. This has never been good. It's like, yeah, sure, it's overstated, but like you can't just be discarding your whole hand all the time. Like that's too much discard, you guys. That's too much. No. Cool. What other things? High Priestess Jeklik. That's another card that... This is actually one that I think is just bad. In the aggro version. Obviously, if you're playing some control version, like with the quest, I think High Priestess Jeklik is probably one of your better cards, one of your best cards. But our deck is trying to go face, and High Priestess Jeklik is an understated minion for going face. Obviously, the lifesteal makes its mana cost a little bit like easier to swallow, but lifesteal's not what you're going for in this deck. You're trying to go face, you're trying to kill him, you're trying to get it done. So you're not a value deck. You don't need High Priestess Jack-Luck filling up your whole damn hand. So bad. Lucari Fellhound. Again, I think this just discards too many cards. You're trying to get a lot of stuff in play, and if it's discarded, it's not in play. And it's random. Like, I like my targeted discard as much as possible. So, I don't know. And, like, you want your taunts to be earlier. You don't want your taunts to be your 4-drop. 4 is super high from this curve. Like, if you look at my deck, what 4-drops am I actually casting? None. I'm not casting any 4-drops. I'm casting 2-drops and a 5-drop. Like, the most mana I want to spend on a single card, other than Doomguard, is 2 mana. Like just look at that from this list. 2 mana is the highest for any minion in the deck other than Doomguard. So that's my main concern with Lucari Fellhound, and it's also my main concern for Nightshade Matron. Nightshade Matron's cool, and I definitely actually played it for a long time in this deck, in this expansion. Of course, in this expansion. It came out this goddamn expansion, whatever. Nightshade Matron, good card. I like it. It's right on the cusp of going into this deck. I cut it for Frenzied Felwing. I was running it before, and it always felt a little bit awkward. It's a little bit... it kind of pushes your deck above where you want to be in terms of the number of discard outlets by a little bit. It also discards itself fairly often if you have 2 in hand. It hits your Doomguard when you don't really want to like force hitting your Doomguard. Of course, the dream is Hand of Gul'dan, but I don't think that it doesn't happen often enough, and you have your expired merchant to do that. And then everyone's top of their coup is Doomguard, Hand of Gul'dan. So everyone's in agreement there. Yeah, so this has been going on for a while now, so I'm going to stop recording, see how long it is, and maybe I'll toss a game in here. But if I don't toss a game in here, come back for the mulligan guide and my overview and everything in a minute. And again, this deck, we're trying to go face, we're trying to kill him, we're trying to go fast. You can still, with my version, if you choose to discard certain things, you can burn through your whole deck really fast. Like, I won a game yesterday on turn 5 with like 7 cards left in my deck. So you can really do it. And it's a good time. So go check out the deck, try my version, tell me what you think is bad. Feel free to flame me. And again, I'm not trying to flame any of these people. They're all trying out a cool deck. They're all innovating. And a lot of these cards that like seem good and are discard synergies, they're good at baiting you. So I don't blame anyone. They look fun and they look good, but I think they are in essence bait. So yeah, thanks for watching. Come back and check out the mulligan guide, and yeah, have a good day. Drink your coffee.